We're all just gonna sit here and wait for Noctis to do the intro that he doesn't know that he's doing for this episode.
I thought we were waiting for you to hit 1. That's what you were counting down to, right? You left off at 1.
I didn't even hear 2.
All right, I take it you want me to. So welcome everybody to the Luna Lounge podcast. Today is actually episode 13, not 14. Or no, today is 14. Wow,
Doing intros aren't as easy as it thought, huh?
Maybe that's why we should have them prepared. But why would we do that? So today's guest, we have the lovely Hebi returning, the midriff himself. And today we are joined by longtime community member, DapperDeputy. How are you guys doing today?
Wait, hold up. How is Hebi not the long-time member? Hebi was here longer than Dapper.
That's why I said a returning member. Returning
long-time community member. I heard long-time community member.
Wonderful podcast listeners are well familiar with Hebi. I'm trying to give Dapper his
maybe this is their first episode. Are you laughing at the idea of this being someone's first episode? We don't get any new viewers. People always have to start. Or this is an anime. You have to start at episode 1.
If this is your first episode, this is pretty much the entire podcast. And now, like they said, it's our 14th episode of the podcast. Speaking of 14, did you know that the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV has a free trial and includes the entirety of Realm Reborn and the award-winning Heavensward expansion up to level 60 with no restrictions on playtime?
Listen, if you are going to advertise games, you need to let us know ahead of time, so we can mark it in our.
Yeah, that's not even how you do it. That's like not even how you do a shameless advertisement joke. All right,
it's literally the meme.
It is.
I thought Raid Shadow Legends was
definitely Raid Shadow Legends was the meme.
That was the old one.
Yeah, that's the new one's Final Fantasy 14.
Oh,
I haven't even seen anyone sponsored by Final Fantasy 14.
The famous Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, it's been out for how many years?
Look,
it's suddenly coming out.
Hate the game.
There was actually a news article recently that they've gotten such a surge in population that they ran out of digital codes to send people for purchasing the game. They had a shortage of digital redemptions.
That sounds like they had 10 lying around in a drawer, and they had a surge of 15 people suddenly get excited and they're like, shit, we weren't ready for this. This is too many.
A lot of people are also getting upset because the queues have gone from 20 people in line to thousands of people in line.
Speaking of codes, I have all the codes, or the QR codes for the packs I opened, and I'm basically going to throw these out there. I'm going to say, if you want VMAX rainbow cards, it's in one of these 20 codes. Good luck finding it.
Oh my god.
Because I genuinely don't know which it's in.
Oh, that's funny. I like it.
I don't know. I don't know if anyone in the community plays the online TCG game, but...
I didn't even realize it, but I just now noticed that you did away with your spin the wheel redemption for free game codes.
I mean, I still have the free game codes, but I just don't keep things around if they're not used.
Yeah, I think, who was it that was really after a game? Was it Tiger?
Yeah, it was Amber. Amber was going for Overwatch.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, they're not gonna lie, this month is pretty baller in terms of games, not gonna lie. I actually was thinking of what?
Discussion for later. Continue.
No, I was gonna say for the Humble Bundle, there's some pretty baller games this month, including Yakuza 3, which is good because I didn't have Yakuza. I don't have Yakuza 1 or 2 either, so I was like, oh look, but I can get Yakuza 3. Hashtag Humble Bundle if you want to hit us up with that sponsorship. Yeah, guys, you can go check out the Humble Choice Bundle right now, and you can get Yakuza 3 Remastered for Dapper. Catherine, if you're listening.
I copied this game now. I'm gonna be very upset.
There's also Bee Simulator for Flora, Kill it with fire to send. Kill it with fire for Lila.
Right.
Swine HD for Luz. She's gonna beat me up.
Oh no.
Are you saying Lucilia or are you saying yeah? Oh, because she has the pig emotes. I forgot. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she loves pigs. There's
She does love pigs.
What was the one you recommended for Lila?
Kill it with fire. There's Deadly Days for anyone who wants to play Hebi's Life Simulator. Kill with fire is killing spiders.
So yes, it does involve running.
Oh yeah, Paradise Killer. That's where this was in my Steam library, and I couldn't remember where I got it from.
Yeah, no, there's some really good games. I mean, I took some for myself. I took Paradise Killer, which I might stream at one point because I feel like it's literally the kind of thing people would want me to stream.
Not bad.
It's like extravagant Danganronpa. That's the easiest way to describe it in a sentence.
So wait, it's even more over the top than Danganronpa? Really?
If you look, look at the like just look at images for Paradise Killer and tell me it doesn't look like Danganronpa.
I don't know. I've never played Danganronpa, but I thought Danganronpa was already over the top quite a bit.
It's not really over the top. I'd say it's like its plot is over the top, but the game itself isn't that over the top.
Yeah, kind of like Persona. If you said like, isn't Persona kind of over the top too?
No.
No. Okay.
What? I don't know. I feel like we have very we might have different definitions of over the top.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how many anime games you play.
I mean, like, unless you consider just is it anime then over the top? Then sure.
Case, there's a lot of games. Yes.
Well, I mean, most anime games are over the top. They're kind of over the top in dramatic sense.
I'd say they're exaggerated, but I wouldn't say they're over the top.
Especially if you go by Japanese culture, almost all of them are way
I'm gonna try to go through
the norm.
I'm gonna try to go through my Steam library and find something that's over the top. All right, we need to actually. I don't know what we were going to talk about, but now it's defining over the top. All right, we are now going to defining over the top games.
If you want to see a game that's over the top, you need to see Breath of the Wild when tFay plays. My word.
Oh my God, you are correct on that, Dapper.
That is. I will agree that is probably over the top. Very literally, because I literally say fuck the past and I go over the top of everything.
I have actually not stopped thinking about that run up to this point.
tFay just treats Breath of the Wild as getting over it.
Okay, I actually forgot that I even streamed it up to this point, and I was the one playing it. So clearly, me and Dapper have very different
with how you play. That's
different experiences. All right, so let's give some context for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. All right, so if for some reason this actually is your first episode, I am not the biggest fan of Breath of the Wild. I have played the entire game. But I beat the entire game without finding Hestu, which made my experience dramatically worse, even if it is beatable for anyone who wants to point that out. And I was like, told like you definitely can find Hestu. I'm like, no, I don't find Hestu. They don't make him like a checkpoint like quest mark. It's like, yeah, he's right next to the village you have to keep going to. I'm like, never found him. And then I was basically made to stream it, and Dapper was going to be giving me commentary, and I started a new file so we could see if I would find Hestu, knowing where he is, literally knowing that he's next to Kakuriko Village. Will I find Hestu? And Dapper was very shocked to see no, I would not, ever. Knowing where Hestu was, I still would not find Hestu.
Some of the best Breath of the Wild content I've ever seen, but not in a good way.
He was playing it. I don't know how to describe how tFay was playing it. It was so weird.
Let me paint
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
No, definitely not the best of times. Definitely not the best of times.
It was the best of times for those that wanted to be drunk and watching it. That would be pretty funny.
Started heading east off the plateau. You see a giant mountain in front of you, carved in half, a very obvious path through there. tFay crosses that bridge, gets across the bridge, heading straight towards that mountain, immediately turns left, runs into the river, goes across the river, runs over some hills, climbs a mountain, and then gets to the village. What?
Yes. I don't know. To me, you're like, do you see that mountain in the distance with like that obvious opening to them? And I'm just like, hey, look, it's some background. All right, what's immediately in front of me? I'll go there.
That's me.
It wasn't immediately in front of you. You literally turned like 90 degrees left and crossed the river.
You know what, tFay, I won't judge you for that. The first time I seen that mountain, I just was like, can I climb that? So I climbed it. Did the shrine on top, and then realized there was a shrine on the other side. Tried to fly across and climb it. It started raining. I fell to my death. Had to go the long way. So I didn't go through it until I got a horse.
I have one that's even worse than that. So we're traveling the path. We found Hestu at this point, and we're looking for our first memory. And I'm like, okay, just follow this road. We're following the road, and we're talking, and tFay suddenly just starts slowly drifting to the right. Slowly drifting towards the mountains. Like, tFay, you better not be leaving that path. He's like, oh crap, right. And then gets back to the path. He literally forgot he was walking the path and decided to head towards the mountains. He didn't even know where he was going.
tFay, do you have ADHD? Because that's what that sounds like to me.
Sounds like he has a very fixed fascination with the mountains.
Yeah,
I just am not very good with I'm not very good with directions, maps, or typically just walking straight in general.
I was about to say there was no map here. There were no directions here. It was stay on the path.
Yeah, no, but see that. I mean, there was a map, and Dapper was like, "All right, look at the map. Do you see the path?" I'm like, "No."
Listen, Little Red Riding Hood. It's very simple. You follow the path to get where you're going.
I don't follow paths in games. If you want me to follow a path, give me invisible walls such that I can't leave the path. Then I will follow your path.
This did bring up some interesting ideas that I thought I'd run by you, just for shits and giggles here.
Okay.
One of which was on top of the mountains, putting like old Hylian ghosts, because a lot of them died during the calamity. So putting like ghosts up there, and then like you could find them on tops of mountains, and they would be looking in a direction, and you'd talk to them, and they'd just simply point at things of interest, so that you might actually go that way. The other idea was that after you collected 10 Korok seeds, one of the Koroks would say, you know, you should go find Hestu. He's got these maracas that can increase your stash limits or something like that. And then it would put a marker right on the stables in that region. And they'd tell you, you know, you can find, he should be over in this region last time I checked, or something like that. You would still have to find him. It wouldn't tell you
that
exactly
sounds great.
where he is.
My inherent problem with the Hestu thing, that is, if you're playing the game blind and you miss Hestu, there's very low probability of you fighting Hestu after again, because when you unlock the checkpoint, the shrine in Kakariko Village, you're never going to be next to Kakariko Village for probably the rest of the game to meet Hestu.
I disagree, because I love to ride horses, but you don't ride horses, so that rule doesn't apply to you either.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing. Like, if you're someone that doesn't like to ride horses, doesn't stay on the path, like you're probably not gonna find the guy that's standing on the path.
So, but why don't they design the game so that there's anyone to tell you that Hestu's there? Like, just that for just suggestion.
You can't account for everyone.
What do you mean? They have people give accountants of everything else. Like, hey, you know how many people will tell you where everything else is? How many people will tell you, oh, there's a desert in the village. Oh, there are some people who live in the lake. Oh, why not have some people say, hey, I saw a fat leaf dude next to Kakariko Village. It's not that complicated. You don't even have to make a checkpoint. Just like have any kind of indication to the player that it could be there. And you cannot tell me that they don't give multiple hits for other parts of the games.
I would say from like when you leave Kakariko Village, it sends you in a couple different directions, and you return to Kakariko Village a couple times because you can't unlock the one right there, right away, can you? I'm thinking of the one that you have to
you
track
definitely
down
can.
I'd have to look at the map again.
The one that's like right in Kakariko Village, you can, because Dapper was pointing out that I missed it.
Yes, because you did somehow.
Yes, so I can definitely confirm that yes, you can do it right away.
Let me see. Let me look at the.
It's the combat tutorial shrine.
No,
test of strength.
Yeah, but when you start playing, you're low health, you're low inventory. You don't have the best weapons. Like, you usually stick to the paths because it's safer that way.
How is it safer to... No. It's statistically not safer to stick to the path. There is no part of the game where you have basic enemies on the sides of mountains. So if you never actually... on the tops maybe. But if you never actually go to the top of... If you not... The path, you can find enemies along the path. I would know. I avoided those enemies. If you're actually traversing the sides of mountains the entire time, it is actually safer. Your point is false.
You play games weird, all right? We can't use you as a point of reference.
All right. Why we have to use him as an example?
No, you can't use someone that plays games abnormally as a point of reference.
But that's where we have to start looking, because
that's good game design.
Game design to abnormal players if we just ignore the fact that abnormal players exist.
How many people play this game and never have a problem finding Hetsu? That's what I want to know.
I mean, tFay's the first I've heard of ever having a problem.
You are the first I've heard of not finding Hetsu.
Yeah, that's pretty...
Is it Hetsu or Hestu?
Hestu.
I thought it was...
Hestu.
Now, are you sure? I thought it was Hetsu.
Okay, follow-up question. Is it Hebi or Herbie?
All right, now.
Point is, you're the first person I've ever heard of not finding Hestu.
I mean, all right, let's even ignore the Hestu thing. I still stand by that it is good to design games around people ignoring very obvious things in your game.
Yeah.
Like, you can even take this outside of the Zelda context, outside of me context. If you're designing a game, it is good to have backup plans on the off chance that something you think is obvious, required, and or would just make the game experience better, but people would forget. It's like when Lila was playing a survival horror game of Amnesia, and over 2/3 of the way through the game, I happened to watch her streaming, and I was like, so why aren't you running? And she was like, you can run? And I was like, you've been playing this entire game where your only weapon is running away without running.
Yeah, like, that's different.
How is that different?
Because you don't need the more inventory space to beat the game, as you've proved.
You don't need to run to beat the game. They're simple things that you can just you can organically suggest. It's not about beating the game. Their experience is dampened by it. You could beat Dark Souls without ever leveling up. That doesn't mean they're not going to tell you level up.
I need to go through and watch the tutorial again, because I would say, what if you don't know to open up your journal to look at the quests you have?
So that's is actually an interesting conversation, because
go the entire time without even looking at your Sheikah slate.
Exactly. What if you don't use your Sheikah slate to pinpoint new shrines because you weren't paying attention when it told you how to do that?
Okay.
So here's the thing. We in the gaming community, people that play games often, we tend to have these misconceptions about the obviousness of the games that we play. And we tend to overlook the fact that not everybody's going to see that as obvious. This is one of those cases. Somebody not knowing to run an Amnesia, that's something that's going to happen. You might not hear about it a lot because the people that are sort of in the community of gamer already sort of accepted that as something, and that people that don't know those things, people that never discover those things, people that may have tried the game because they heard about it and then dropped it and don't really play games anymore because of it, they're not going to be the ones talking about these sorts of things. And I think the same applies to sort of this Hestu situation and everything else. Is like we have these ideas of what people should just naturally know when playing games, things that people should just figure out because that's how games have always been. But
to be fair, the amnesia thing throws me because almost every game I've ever played has a very basic startup tutorial showing you movement controls.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
does it show you how to run in Amnesia?
No. But even if it shows you how to run, I generally don't remember. I've never played. It's been like forever since I had anything to do with that game. But why not like have it set up so if there's a sequence that that the game realizes, hey, you're not running for a very notable period of time. Why not just have an on-screen prompt that just says E to run? It's not E to run, but I'm just saying, like, why is that so hard to even just suggest? You're not like saying, hey, listen, just like remind the player it exists.
Yeah, but what if in the beginning of the game it shows you how to run and Lila missed it?
Yeah, but like, even if it did, what's wrong with adding a reminder? All right, I'm not talking about Fee from Skyward Sword levels, but you're acting like if you don't memorize all the instructions,
tips in the loading screens.
Yeah.
You know, if it's in the loading screen, that's another way of reminding. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I don't. But how many reminders do I hate reminders when I'm playing a game? That's like saying, like, how many people advocate for getting rid of the tutorial in Pokemon?
No, but they don't say get rid of the tutorial. Nobody says get rid of the tutorial. They say make the tutorial optional. They say make the tutorial. It's supposed to be make the tutorial optional. You need the tutorial in Pokemon. Just make it optional, which they kind of did for part of it in Sword and Shield. They go, do you want to, like, do you know this? You say yes, and it skips it. That's how it should be done.
They do something else that's pretty clever in Sword as well, Sword and Shield, where when you're first given Pokeballs, if you catch a Pokemon, it'll skip the Pokemon catching tutorial later on.
Yeah, okay, but now you say, yes, I know how to play this game, and later you'll have forgotten, by chance, how to run, let's say in Amnesia. And now you want a reminder as well? As like skipping,
if you want, you can literally you can even have an option to turn on reminders or hints in the options. It takes like 3 seconds. It's probably not that hard to code in.
I have a random
one way that games like to do this, because we have actual examples of this being implemented in games, is there'll be like a little, like, say it's shift, just because that's a nice easy one. Assuming PC. They'll have right at the bottom of the screen a little shift bar, and right next to it it'll say run. It's unobtrusive, it's right down there, and I mean, you could even set it up to a death counter if you really wanted to.
Am I weird? Because I feel like every new game I start, if it doesn't have like a really, decent startup tutorial on how to play, I usually just hit start and go to controls and look at the button layout.
Yes, that's the other.
But a lot of people don't like doing that.
Well, then they need to get over it.
What do you mean? We literally said that. Wait, hold up. Didn't we? I don't remember what your side of the argument was. Weren't you the one who said you hate manuals and you wanted the game to organically teach you how to play?
Yes. I don't want a friggin' hint box like popping up. Oh, remember to run. It's like,
so
I already remembered to run.
Oh, but how are you okay with looking up the controls and that instead of them teaching you, but you're not okay with looking at manual? The only difference is that it's in the game.
But the same people that are not going to know to go to their controls to look up how to do anything.
If you don't know you're missing, no. Why do you look up controls when you don't know how to do something? But that requires you to acknowledge there's something you don't know how to do.
Yes.
If you don't know that you're able to run, this isn't, you don't know how to run, but you know there is a run function. The issue is that you don't know. You don't know how to, so why would you look at the controls?
You just look at the controls. I mean, you don't need tooltips.
If you're running into difficulties in the game, and it seems like there should be an easier way to do this. I mean, I wonder how many times Lara said on stream during that game, "I wish I could run,"
or just Google it. That's the thing, because people are going to encounter difficulties at different parts in the game.
Here's the thing: when you're in a game, why do you want to pull yourself out of the game to do that?
Okay, I think we said before, and I know Dapper's on my side. I don't know if Hebi stands on this. You cannot design a game around I'm going to Google it. You could have that as an option, but you can't.
Everybody's difficulty level.
It's not everybody's difficulty level to add small reminders that you can turn off.
How often do you add the reminders?
Any more or less difficult.
How often do you add these? That's the how often do you remind people that Hetsu exists?
I don't need a lot of reminders, just any kind of reminders. And that wasn't even what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, Hestu isn't specifically a mechanic. Like that's not something that's already ingrained into what your character can do.
Yeah, me complaining about Hestu is a personal thing. The issue is more if there is a core mechanic that is clearly being ignored, add a small reminder in some way, even if Hebi suggested in the loading screen, a la Skyrim. Okay, I'm okay with that. Something to remind the player that these mechanics exist.
Okay, Batman Arkham City has kind of what you're suggesting, and they do it on loading screens. So when you load in or out of an area, it'll have a little like notebook there saying, "Hey, by the way, hold R2 to glide." Blah,
That's
blah, blah,
totally
blah, blah,
fine.
blah.
That I think is also an organic way of doing things.
I'll accept that. I don't need, but there are plenty of times I never use the lock-on feature in Breath of the Wild. I don't need it reminding me every 5 minutes to use the lock-on feature because I don't use the lock-on feature.
I said, all right, Dapper, go.
If I may actually, if I recall in Arkham City, when you have a point that you can grapple to, doesn't it bring up a prompt telling you which button you can press to grapple to it?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about. If you're dying all the time, it just brings up a prompt saying you can run with shift. It doesn't even say you can run, it just says shift run.
Yes, no, I'm okay with it in the loading screen. I don't need it in the game.
No, but he was saying but Arkham City, Dapper was pointing out that it tells you what button to press to grapple when you find a grapple point. How is it different?
That's different.
How's it different?
Because you don't. It points out which points you can grapple to.
No, you can point out which points to grapple to without showing the button prompt.
Grapple, just in case you forgot.
No, I would argue it's a different thing.
No,
how is it different? How is it different?
It's showing you where you can.
No.
Game is
but I'm saying no. I'm not saying don't put an indicator of where to grapple. I'm saying why is it showing me RT to grapple? That are you saying that something that you've probably been doing 1,000 times in that game is the button you forgot that you need to be reminded RT? Why not just have a small, like in Persona 5 Royale, they have a small blue light saying grapple here. Well, but they don't have to show the you don't have to have the blue. You don't have to show the button prompt to grapple.
That's a very specific example, though, of how.
No, but you're saying you don't want. You said you don't want on-screen reminders, but Arkham City, the example you gave, has on-screen reminders of how to do buttons.
It's not reminding me of a mechanic I'm not using. It's showing me where I can grapple to. That's how they're showing. So
you're okay with them showing you how to do buttons if you already know how to do it, but you don't want them to show you buttons if you forgot. Basically, get good.
I'm telling you, I don't need a reminder of stuff I'm not using. That's how I play.
Yes, but what's wrong with it being there if you can just turn it off? You seem to be mad at the option of it.
I don't want to put more work on the programmers of these games. And you're gonna say it's simple, but it's really not.
Dapper, how simple is it?
That specifically is pretty simple.
You don't have to. I don't need the programmers putting in reminders of mechanics I don't use.
You don't think of the mass majority of players.
Basic instructions such as movement.
Yeah,
how long do you go before it reminds you, oh, you haven't jumped in about 5 minutes? Do you remember how to jump? Oh, you haven't changed your bows out in a while. Do you remember how to do that?
This isn't a constant reminder. This is, say you're playing Amnesia, since that was the previous example. Say you're trying to run from a monster, you get caught and you die. Say you're like, okay, you try again, monster sees you, you try to get away and you die. Yeah. What's wrong with the game then going shift run at the bottom? To remind you that you can actually move faster if you press shift.
That's when you put it in the load screen. Because it sounds like
put it in the load screen.
Because
also, Amnesia
doesn't
Amnesia not have load screens? I don't think Amnesia has load screens.
I don't know. I've never played Amnesia.
No, I'm saying what? All right, let's pretend for the sake of argument that it's a game without load screens.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
then
don't have an answer for you then. Okay, fine. You guys win this one. Are you happy?
Yeah. It's not about winning.
It's definitely about winning with tFay, all right? I know how this goes. Dapper's probably very, very gentlemanly about it, but I know how tFay
I mean,
feels.
I just don't like when simple additions could open up how accessible the game is, and people don't want it there because it either's they're boo. I'm not talking about Zelda Fee Navi hand holding. All right, I'm all for them turning that off or making it optional. The Skyward Sword HD remake. Hashtag Nintendo if you want to hit us up with that sponsor for Skyward Sword, because you're not giving us anything else for Zelda 35th anniversary. What? I'm sad to say.
I don't need every game to be accessible like that. Sometimes, like, it's nice jumping into a game and it doesn't hold your hand. It's nice, like, that's why I like retro games.
I don't think that suggestions are hand holding.
I don't think
reminders are hand holding either.
Yeah,
it's all right. If Hebi was to literally pop up in my game and literally create a dialogue that I have to press A to skip, saying, "Hey, do you remember this?" That's hand-holdy. It is not hand-holdy for any kind of visual prompt that you could just that does not impede your game at all, that you could ignore for like if it appears on screen. How is that hand-holdy?
I would say there's a certain amount of cleverness you feel when you figure stuff out on your own versus
I don't think
being told how to do it.
Is it clever to look up the controls? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment if you go, "Oh, I wonder how you run. Let me Google it. Let me look it up in the settings. Oh, I'm so clever." Versus, "Oh, if they tell you how to run as a reminder. God damn it, I got deprived of that opportunity to learn how to run on my own. God damn it."
I'm just simply stating, most a game like Amnesia, it sounds like you have run and you have move. That's it.
Run, move, and pick up stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a very basic game. There's not much to learn there. I don't understand why you would need to remind people of such a basic game setup.
Well, that's what goes back to my argument before, that you're looking at it as somebody that's played games a lot.
Played games before, yeah. No, I get that.
Specifically, games that have a shift to run mechanic. Not everybody does, and with how simplistic Amnesia is, it's understandable how somebody might think that it doesn't.
I mean, almost every game that's first person will literally show you the E key on screen when you're looking at something that you can interact with or pick up. It's like a universal thing.
Because Lila's not even in here, I don't think.
It's fine.
No. See, what you want to know what Amnesia should do instead of having a dumb thing like a pop-up? They should have a section that they right in the very beginning where they show you to run, and then they have something chase you that you need to run from. Instead
I don't think you understand what kind of
game
Amnesia is.
Yeah. Well, this is the example you guys picked. I'm trying to talk about Amnesia. All right, you guys picked this game. I didn't. I don't know what Amnesia. I've never played Amnesia.
I picked it because it's a pretty universally known game.
I've seen Lila play it, but I've never played it. My point is, put it in the beginning of the game when they show you how to play it. When they're showing you how to play it, give you a reason to use the sprint.
What's wrong with if you then aren't using it later? What if you are not using it? What's wrong with this subtle reminder? Why do you seem to get so mad at that?
Because the idea from now, after running from the monster and learning how to run from the monster, I'm gonna get a little prompt saying, "Hey,
why are you assuming it's in 5 minutes? Why are you assuming it's in 5 minutes? Why are you assuming this is Zelda?"
How long.
I'm saying
general.
We did. We did. No. We literally said in the condition that you're failing something over and over and over again, then it's gonna give you the prompt. So it's literally it's not a timed prompt. It's a prompt when it seems like it could be useful to you.
And what if I'm just not good at that moment and I am running?
So then
and I'm being reminded to run.
What do you mean? If you're running, then it's not going to, through the logic that me and Dapper were saying, it's not going to remind you to run if you're running.
Yeah, because you'd get away.
Listen. This was not a topic I was gonna pick up. I was going to argue about. Why did we pick? What? Why? I'm curious.
Because we're talking about a Hestu.
So let's just blame Hestu, and I guess move on.
No, what happens is we start talking about something, and then I make a statement, and then my dumbass has to defend it because I made my stand.
I'm a big believer in general, all right? And I would treat Hebi and Dapper the same or any other guest. If you're going to make an opinion that I personally do not agree with, I want to hear. I'm okay with you having your own opinion, all right? You know, but I'm okay with people having their own opinion in general. But I do believe that people should be able to give a defense for their opinions, regardless of what. I'm not expecting you to convince me. I just want to hear the logic behind it.
No, I know. What it comes like. I do think there is a level of I think people should get good, and I realize that is a very toxic thing to think sometimes. I recognize that, and I fight that urge, and I try, but there's a level of I think you just understand how a game works when you start playing it. Because like I tried to get my dad to play Halo, and he couldn't understand the second stick. No amount of prompts is going to help him understand that one joystick moves the camera.
I mean, can't you like? Honestly, I hated it for the longest time too. I was like, give me mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard makes sense. But that aside, is this? Do you think? Like, I know this sounds like the same topic, but it's actually kind of different because I don't really have much experience in this regard. Do you think that logic comes because you've played a lot of retro games? Because I find that I, as someone who never played retro games, hate that kind of logic of just figure it out or just get good or something like that. But I also never really was surrounded by games where that was the norm, or like I felt I get a sense of achievement for figuring it out.
I guess
have a topic change if anyone's interested in moving.
No, we're 1 second. All right. No, what I would say it comes down to is games that have more simplified controls, like platformers. Which Breath of the Wild is like almost like an open world platformer. I know it's not, but it kind of feels that way because you're climbing, you do a lot of movement based stuff, and then you have some combat. It's definitely I wouldn't even. Would you guys call it an RPG? I'm kind of curious.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No genre.
I'd call it an open world 3D.
If you had to give it a Steam tag, I probably would give it one, but you know.
Yeah, we could call it a lot of things on Steam.
I do believe the official description of it is adventure platformer.
Yeah, so I would just say like games that have simplified controls like that, I don't feel the need for as many like pop-ups, whereas like your more complicated ones like RTSs, where like it's not as intuitive. I would say platformers feel more intuitive, so I've never felt the need for a guide on how to play it or reminders of how to play it.
I'm gonna cash it and have you change the topic because I want to make an argument that RTSs are way more intuitive.
Oh, like than a platformer? Oh wow. All right, fine, Hebi. What's our
All right, one sentence argument. We can have this argument later, but just one sentence argument. Every command has the hotkey where the first letter of the word matches the letter on the keyboard.
Okay.
That's my one sentence argument for intuitiveness. All right.
All right. My sentence then would be forward, backward, left, right, jump.
Wait. I don't think that's an RTS.
No, I'm arguing for the simplified controls of a platformer.
Right click. Universal directions. All right, Heaven, what's your change of topic?
What's your change of topic?
So inverted y-axis.
I don't think that's. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's gonna be something, isn't it?
Okay, it's literally. Have you played Flight Simulator?
Heavy's just like carrying in a tree with a hornet's nest on it. Like,
all right, this is basically before we get into this. This is heavy. This is heavy changing of topic. All right, everyone's like arguing. Everyone's arguing, over like, all right, it's like, oh, my football team's the best football team. No, my football team's. I'm gonna beat you up because you don't like my football team. No. I want to emphasize what I was expecting, Heavy, right? So I was like, all right, two people are arguing over football teams, right? They're ready to beat each other up. And Heavy's like, all right, guys, we shouldn't fight over football teams because that's stupid. And sports are stupid. And they're like, all right, wise guy, what do you want to argue about? Heavy's like, my soccer team's the best one.
Oh my god. I'll lead with, if we are going to talk about the y-axis, I prefer inverted, but change it to however you want. It's a simple setting. Just change it.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's that hard. I say, well, I don't know. Are we assuming that it's optional?
Yeah, if you can change it, what is your preference?
I prefer
that depends on the game.
I mean, that very much depends on the game, but almost universally, I would say regular.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite, but I'm also an older generation gamer.
No,
and used to all of the video games you played on PC, you played with a joystick, and the joystick was always inverted.
And it always joystick is in my intuitive. Head. No, this is the logic. All right, and if Rels was here, I've heard this argument for him for a decade. All right, it's if you're on a plane and you want to go up, which way are you gonna pull the stick?
Yeah.
Right? That's the logic behind inverted. For anyone who didn't know before, there you go. And if you're playing with a joystick,
another example,
then yes.
Okay.
Imagine, like if you're not like doing a flight sim or something, you're just talking about standard aiming or anything in a first person or even third person perspective. If the joystick is your neck and head, which way do you tilt your head to look up?
Yeah, see, but it really just becomes of how immersed are you whenever you're playing the game. When I'm playing a shooter, I do not think of myself as holding a gun. I think of I'm looking somewhere, I click and people die.
So what's funny is that's how I feel when it's a game where you're a human or human-esque creature or something like that. I use normal. I use inverted though if I'm playing a game like Mech Warrior because it's a vehicle. So basically mine is, if it's a vehicle game, inverted. If it's not a vehicle game, probably normal.
I don't know. I usually play inverted no matter what I'm doing.
I was gonna say I almost can't play unless it's inverted.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're flying something like obviously a flight simulator, I need it to be inverted.
I mean,
because it feels like I'm piloting it.
It's just it's just what do you feel? It's just what are you used to? It's not even like I couldn't even make an argument that one's better than the other because it's
now you're a real monster if you invert the x-axis.
Well, yes, that we can agree on. All right,
you're a psychopath and potentially a serial killer.
I meant, isn't there one of the
challenge runs? At which case, I salute you.
Isn't there one of the Halo games where it'll tell you to look up? Isn't there a Halo game where it tells you to look up? And based on which way you put the joystick, it sets that for the rest of the game.
No, actually, I don't know, but all right. I think this is a Halo game. Tell me if this is not a Halo game. I think it's a Halo game where instead of letting you choose normal or inverted, they're going to give you 6 options of different full button mappings. And all those button mappings include a very specific set of directional controls. So if you want the normal controls, right? Let's just pretend normal, or you want inverted, right? You're gonna be given a very specific set of buttons for jump and shoot and stuff like that.
Controller, and it has above it's classic, and then you go right.
It's like why are the buttons mapped? Why are the buttons and the joystick controls linked? Why are those not separate?
Yeah.
Okay, that was part of the argument of why I was bringing this up. That was like me and Noctis were saying older games a lot of times defaulted to inverted. So when did the switch happen to make the regular normal?
No. It's not even about joystick. It's why does this, and these are old games because I'm pretty sure this is old Halo games. Why are the buttons, the choice of what button is which button, mapped to a certain controller directional? I don't think
that's why they give you different ones, because some people preferred it a certain way.
Yeah, but why not?
You can always set it to that setting and then change one of the
No. I don't remember which one it was. I was not able to whatever Halo this was, because I'm pretty sure it's a Halo. You were not able to choose an individual button.
Presets.
I never understood why you couldn't just completely map the controller to your liking.
I'm pretty sure. I thought most of Halos you could.
This is older games. Older games, they would not let you map the keybinds. This was, they gave you presets and you had to choose one of them to use. And the direction, the buttons pressed were all different on all the presets, but the presets would have inverted controls or not inverted controls. That's what tFay's talking about.
I get.
I have no idea why you did that.
I don't think it's Halo though. I'm pretty sure Halo let you change your keybind.
No, Halo 1 did not. Halo 1 100% did.
I'm gonna go get my Halo 1 motherfucker.
I was pretty sure it's Halo because I didn't play enough first-person shooters for me to get it confused with anything else.
I know.
Yeah, Halos have the presets, but they let you change your.
No. I will bet you money. All right, I'll bet you money that at least the first one did not let you map your buttons individually.
I have. Okay, now you have to be curious. I need to go grab Halo 1 and my 360 because I gave away my Xbox. Because who the hell wants an Xbox? And I will try and load it up because I bet you the Master Chief Collection they changed that.
Yeah, they definitely changed it for the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, and maybe they even changed it for the re-release of Halo 1. So you would need OG Halo 1 for the Xbox to double check.
Yes.
Because that would be the only one that would. Because I would bet by Halo 2 they definitely let you change your settings.
And we could have a discussion about how Halo 2 is held together by duct tape and spit.
It's a great game. Don't you dare talk bad about it.
It's great, but
okay.
I love being able to snipe with a pistol.
The engine.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's the only way I beat that game. Only way I beat that game is being able to snipe with a pistol.
Yeah, that's Halo 1. Halo 2 is the pistol got nerfed.
Never played Halo 2. I genuinely only played Halo 1.
You've never played Halo 2 or Halo 3 or Halo What? All right, I know what my full stream controls going toward.
I hope you're ready to buy a full ass console.
I mean, no, you can get the Master Chief Collections on Steam right now, which is pretty cool.
I started making a bunch of them.
How much is it? Because I've already started putting very specific price requirements for if I'm actually playing the games. Yeah, fuck that.
It's $40, but you get 1, 2, 3 in reach. I mean, that's worth
unless
it.
Unless you're gonna save up
$1 for the free 3 months of
800,000 points.
Don't you have Xbox Game Pass, tFay?
No.
No. Okay. Never mind.
That's what I'm saying. But he could do the $1 for 3 free months
your first month.
Exactly.
No,
right there.
I don't know. All right. I'm weird. I don't like game subscription services.
They're
that, but I mean, just for a temporary content thing.
No,
instead of having to buy the game full outright.
Yeah, that's true. Or you like keyboard and mouse though better, don't you?
No. You asking me to use if you're forcing me to use my controller for Halo, a first-person shooter, I'm just gonna start slapping you. All right.
Why? I never understood that. I always liked the controller better than keyboard.
Because you have more precise aiming when you have a mouse. I don't know why this is so complicated for people to understand. I'll give you that. That is the general. They give you aim assist because it is, no matter how good you are, it is always more accurate than mouse and keyboard. Thus, I want mouse and keyboard because I already suck with first-person shooters to begin with. I don't need to have harder time aiming.
Yep.
That amazes me. I never had the same problem with controller.
Oh, because they put in a bunch of stuff to assist controller.
Now you have me curious to play Halo on keyboard and mouse. I don't like the mouse personally to aim with. Not even on precise stuff like a first-person shooter, but just in general. Well, I don't find the mouse
have you played a shooter with a controller where it doesn't have aim assist? I'm just curious. Because I
would need a list of games that have that.
A lot of newer games have the option. It has it as an option if you're gonna have aim assist on.
All right, let me. Now you have me. I'm just gonna Google it really
because
quick.
The theory is, and I'm not saying Noctis is bad or good with the statement. All right, for clarification, I feel like you might have always played with consoles, always with aim assist. So without realizing it, you conditioned on aim assist. So if you switch to a mouse and keyboard, it's gonna feel awkward because you have that much full control when aiming.
The benefit of mouse and keyboard controlling though is that rather than floating control, you have haptic control. What that means is floating control means if you push a stick in a direction,
I have no idea what that means.
if you push a stick in a direction with floaty control, that just means that like the camera is constantly going to move in that direction. You have no real idea of where it's actually going to end up until you let go and it stops. Haptic control means that if you move your hand from point A to point B, the camera is going to move from point A to point B respectively on the screen. So you have that's why it's more accurate with mouse and keyboard, is because you're not like pushing the camera in a direction, you're literally moving it with your hand to a very specific spot.
No, it says acceleration controllers versus acceleration along axis is what it looks like. So yeah, it looks like you accelerate faster on the joystick.
Yes.
To make up for it. Yeah, I think because it doesn't matter what game. It's every game that I've been able to play. Like even Portal. Portal doesn't have aim assist, does it? To my knowledge.
No, because
Portal,
there's not really any
because you don't aim
targeting.
If anything, it has like auto adjust the portal. Because I think like
because I'm pretty sure
that's sort of a sticky boundary.
When you hit if you hit like one spot or hit like slightly downwards, the portal's gonna appear in the same spot.
Yeah, no, my point is like even on games like on Portal and Portal 2, it's not aim assist, it just feels weird on the keyboard and mouse. I've always preferred the controller.
But that's why I'm saying if you played a game without aim assist on controller, because if you've always had aim assist on, whether or not you need it or not, it's gonna feel different.
No, but you don't have aim assist in Portal, right? That's what I just asked.
I don't think Portal. No. I do not consider Portals a good frame of reference on.
But it's a first-person shooter. You're not shooting anything.
Okay, you're generalizing it a lot. If you're not actually trying to precisely aim at things.
You are in Portal, especially like when you're bounding between.
No.
Yes, you are. Especially late in the game when you're quickly
Are you seriously comparing?
platforms.
Are you seriously comparing Portal shooting mechanics to shooting people's heads in Halo or Call of Duty?
I would.
I don't play these games enough, but I call hacks. I can't. I don't play these games enough to give a legitimate argument.
Portal has a sticky aim system where if you hit generally the area they want you to, it will create the portal where you need it. But that's
how
the
Portal
same with mouse and keyboard. Like there's no difference there. It's a game that you don't have to be very super accurate with. Like you're moving a lot, but the camera, the way the whole game's designed is that when you go through a portal, you're already generally looking at the area.
No, it has nothing to do with me shooting someone. It has everything to do with I don't like how the movement feels of the mouse. I don't like that. I like the joystick better.
That's fair.
Also, weird, and this is gonna sound so elitist, and I know it's gonna sound elitist. What kind of mouse do you use?
I don't know, man. That's a good question.
I'm waiting because I know
it's a generic.
See, because with controllers, you have one option of controller, right? I know you have more options, but for the sake of the argument, you basically have one generic option of controller, and your different controllers are very minor differences. Maybe they add a couple of extra buttons, or like you have soft feel or whatever, right? Now, for mice, you have a plethora of options. And if your argument is, not saying it's not legit, but again, that's why I say it sounds elitist. If your argument is it doesn't feel good, then you probably just don't have a mouse that's suited for your hand, because each person is kind of unique in that.
I'll give you that. Maybe that is what it is.
I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not trying to say Noctis needs to go buy a better mouse so he can play mouse and keyboard because mouse and keyboard is superior. I'm not saying that.
No, I know. I felt this way for a long time. So we're talking like 10, 15 years now. When I played friggin' Half-Life originally back in like 2000 as an 8-year-old. It was kind of fun, but as soon as I started playing Halo on the Xbox, it was a lot more fun. I found the controls to be, it's easier. And I have big hands. Like I could crush my mouse very easily in my hands. Maybe that is it. Maybe I need to get a little bit bigger of a mouse. It feels better on the controller. No matter what game I'm playing, I prefer, especially for the first person shooter, that double joystick. It's always worked better for me. No matter what game.
I'm also usually more in tune with a controller than a keyboard.
I was gonna say, there are certain games where I completely understand that. Like Dark Souls, you can technically play on mouse and keyboard, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't feel right. So I get the feeling of a control system just not being what you need it to be when you're playing the game that you're playing.
Well, Dark Souls is an interesting one because Hades is similar in this regard. The game is designed around a controller specifically. And even in Hades, it actually says when you start up the game, Dark Souls does not do this. Hades actually does this. Use a controller, which I find fascinating because, you can make an argument that a shooter does this too. Games like Dark Souls and Hades are designed around controllers such that, yes, you can use mouse and keyboard, but it is going to feel clunky, and the game's designed in such a way that it probably would be. If that makes sense.
I know what you're saying. They did fix a lot of those problems with 2, and especially in 3. So it's not.
I will say, as another example of this, I played Final Fantasy Original way back in the day, and I didn't get very far because I kept forgetting what button was which because I was a mouse and keyboard, and even if you could map the controllers wherever you wanted, there was no combination I could figure out that was intuitive enough for me to play the game properly.
Yeah. It's really a game-to-game basis, and some people are just more naturally attuned to using controllers than they are mouse and keyboard, and there's nothing wrong with that. The fact that you have those options is nice just in a general video game development standpoint. The fact that people can play the way they want, and I'm a-okay with that.
Yes, I am also okay. While I think Noctis is probably, stuck on aim assist, separate argument. But I do not like when people say people shouldn't play shooters with controllers, because I see no problem with that. I definitely think that if you were to take
craze lately about people complaining about aim assist.
Oh.
Well, because basically when you have cross-platform, right? When you're saying, all right, let's pretend we're playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, if you want to make it more meme-ish, and you're going to say cross-platform, all right, so you have a PC player and a controller player, and an Xbox player in the same game, because people want the cross-platform. Aim assist suddenly becomes a very big deal when one group of people has it and one doesn't.
If the mouse and keyboard is that much better, it shouldn't be a problem for you. And that's what I've been.
That's what the argument comes. That's where people argue.
So what? The mouse and keyboard people are mad that they lose, so they blame aim assist. That's what I'm picking up on.
Pretty sure the mouse and keyboard people aren't losing.
Then
why are they complaining about it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not heard this argument.
It's basically it's a bunch of people complaining. Well, one, it's kind of like, you don't know, first of all, what someone else is using. So if you lose to someone, people are going to claim odds. If you're going to go not hacking, you're going to say, no, they have aim assist on it and I don't. And obviously Noctis is like, shouldn't you be better if you have mouse and keyboard? It's sucky people on the internet who bother to complain. Obviously, common sense and their skill is not the factor here.
Their argument is invalid, and we can move on with our day.
Yes, I'm not expecting to have a long argument over it. I'm merely acknowledging that it's a thing.
Yes. No, I've heard that argument for many years, that the keyboard and mouse is a better way to play because it allows you to be more accurate. I've never felt that way. Like I said, aiming with the mouse, I don't like.
No. More accurate and more comfortable are two different things.
there was a deal where, funny enough, in Overwatch, Torbjorn was super popular on the consoles because the controller, the turning ability and aiming ability of the controller was so different to the mouse and keyboard, right? That people were actually losing to the turrets more often than they were destroying them. Where it was the opposite problem, where Torbjorn's turrets were super weak on PC, they were super strong on console, and that was due to the controller setup.
I can't. Yeah, no, and that's what it comes out. Like, if aim assist is that powerful on consoles, then I could understand why people are getting upset. But everyone that plays first-person shooters, like competitively, claim that mouse and keyboard is the way to go.
Remember, Noctis, aim assist is more impactful the lower down the totem pole you get.
Yeah, but that's what, like, if you're good, mouse and keyboard's the way to go. So if you're not good and you're losing on mouse and keyboard, is it because of aim assist or is it because you're not good at the game in general?
It's probably because you're not good, but because you're going to blame any kind of advantage people have over you.
But this conversation is exactly the problem, the struggles that cross-platform developers are having for the most part, is how do they balance control maps, like control schemes, for both sides of the game. It's not an easy thing to deal with. And of course, you're never going to make everyone happy.
Yeah, see, I could see in Call of Duty how it matters, but in like Halo, I naturally know where to aim. It doesn't feel like I'm being drawn there. It feels like I know where to aim.
Well, all right. See, what you're saying, well, that's experience. That's the gamers versus non-gamers argument. If you're when you know where to aim, because I do not know where to. I've always found it amazing when I watch like shooter clips, whether it be Halo or Call of Duty, where people will throw grenades in a random room and someone dies. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what?
That happens. Sometimes you like drop your. My favorite that I ever had happen was me and my friends were playing, and me and two other friends were playing. The third friend shot me and the other friend with a sniper rifle in the head and killed both of us on accident. It was a funny moment. We loved it, but yeah, it was because you're playing a matchmaking game where it randomly assigns you weapons. He got a sniper rifle, and it decided to spawn him looking at us. He pulled the trigger on accident and killed both of us. It was a very unique situation. No, now I'm looking up all these.
Halo sniper rifle has some like weird, funky mechanics to it, doesn't it? Like, doesn't it ricochet bullets?
Sometimes, somewhat, yeah.
Wait, which?
Yeah, the Halo sniper rifle is definitely weird.
ADHD'd out for a sec.
Halo Reach was the one I was talking
about. All the Halo game snipers had a ricochet effect, didn't they?
I don't remember. It's been so long since I played a Halo.
I remember watching clips on, because they used to always do like the weekly fail clips on YouTube and stuff. And
all right, actually, wait. Legitimate question here. I guess we could say this is Halo for the sake of because it's Halo. I never really played the other games or just many multiplayer shooters in general. I basically hate the genre, but I like curious in your opinion of this. I generally don't have a strong opinion on it. I've always found that the concept of things like snipers and stuff like that, and you could argue MMR, but it always made it very hard for me to get into the genre and or new games. You could argue similar thing for fires, because whenever I'd go, I always found it really like disheartening when I go into a map and I die and I don't get to see who's killing me. And you can make an argument of yes, but campers can't move, hence camping because they're looking down the scope. But I'm like, if I'm a new player, I don't know the map, and I can't learn the map or get to play the game if I'm constantly being sniped. Like, my favorite maps in any kind of first-person shooter multiplayer, Call of Duty, Halo, whatever, were always the ones where it was an actual open area. You always got to see where they're shooting at you from. Like, even with sniping, like, I like that in Halo. I don't know if this is for all the Halo games, just the first one, all I know, is where you saw the track, like the smoke trail of the bullet. Like, so it kind of tells you where they're shooting from if they miss. And I think that kind of stuff is great. I don't know if that's like If that's still a thing.
I think all of them have them to differing degrees. But yeah, Halo definitely has the
most
most obvious one.
But I just think that snipers ruin the game for like new players, because how do you learn the game if you're being sniped?
I would agree with you there. Talking about first-person shooters on tFay's channel, it's weird.
You guys do realize that I don't actually hate first-person shooters. I hate MMO FPS, but I don't actually. I've played a bunch of first-person shooter games. I just don't stream them.
Oh man,
I think we were
do
all
reunite
unaware of that.
first-person shooters.
Okay, what might as well make it a question. What's your guys' favorite first-person shooter?
Right now, Doom 2016.
That's fair. I hear
Honestly,
that's pretty
I'd probably just have to admit it's Destiny 2.
I'm going to assume Mass Effect doesn't count, so let me scroll through my options.
Third person.
All right, so it has to be first person. All right, you guys talk. Give me a minute.
All right, I'm going Half-Life 2. I'm going basic bitch. I don't care. Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2 was pretty damn good, but I just don't play it anymore. I still pick up Destiny on the regular.
It used to be, and I don't consider it anymore because I don't know if I consider it a first-person shooter, but it like the Mech Warrior games, because you could be in first person in the mech and you were shooting, but I'm like, it's more of a mech sim game than a.
I gotta be on. I have no idea what the Mech Warrior games are.
They're basically a flight simulator / shooter action combat.
But instead of having a flying machine, you had giant walking robot machines that you piloted.
Some of them could fly.
I'd say first person. All right.
Spoilers.
All right. I'd say it's hard for me to. They're so different, but I don't know. If you count Borderlands, probably Borderlands, but I don't know if you count Borderlands. If you don't count Borderlands, then BioShock. I don't know if you count BioShock. I'd say BioShock 3 over 1 probably. But I was also much better at first-person shooters when I played BioShock 3. BioShock 1 was my first-person shooter. So that's weird bias. And then if not those, then Metro. That's probably the Metro
I'd say
series.
Borderlands is definitely a first-person shooter.
The only requirement you need is that it's a first-person view with a gun.
So my argument against that is because I feel like if you have things like superpowers, that's why I say BioShock and Borderlands might not count. You don't need to rely on the shooting aspect, which is kind of say, are you really comparing the first-person shooting mechanics or just everything except the first-person shooting?
Well, then maybe we should have a conversation about genres in general, because genres are not supposed to be that specific.
No, I'm not saying it's not a first-person shooter. I'm just saying, for the terms of the discussion point, are we asking about anything with first-person shooter elements, or because we want to talk about because we were talking about the shooting so in depth earlier. So if I'm gonna I played BioShock 1 without ever shooting. I'm like, I don't think I can really talk about how good the shooting mechanics are in that game.
Yeah, no, it's a BioShock is also a first-person shooter. It doesn't matter if you use it or not. That's what it's centered around. You're first person. You have a gun. To me, that's all it takes.
So weird, controversial opinion. Can you say it's your favorite first-person shooter if you don't ever shoot? So basically, you happen it's your favorite game in that genre, but you don't like it for that genre element.
Well, doesn't matter. Yeah, it counts. Like I said, Portal and Portal 2. Not a classical sense of a first-person shooter, but they are a first-person shooter.
I would say yes, because when you're talking to other people, the genre is there so that they understand elements of the game. Not necessarily because of the elements you understand them by, but because other people understand them by that. So even if you didn't shoot much in the game, other people will recognize BioShock as a first-person shooter. And so, yes, it does work.
That's fair. Hebi is midriff. What?
Yep.
I mean, nobody's denying that. Although it is covered up, sadly.
Yep. tFay likes to censor me.
What do you mean? First of all, I do not appreciate the term censor. All right? Let's use the proper term. I nerfed you. Okay?
Yes. I like it.
I'm looking up first-person shooters on...
early, boys.
I'm looking up first-person shooters on Steam. Can I change my answer to Hentai Aim Trainer? Because this looks pretty fun.
If you haven't played it, then no. All right. Here's another argument I have. All right. I do not like when people say their favorite something is something they haven't played.
Yes.
You know, it could be your favorite. You don't know. Maybe.
If you haven't played it, then you fundamentally cannot count it as your favorite.
I mean,
this theoretical version of this game.
There's Galgun, but that's technically a rail shooter.
Yeah.
Are rail shooters not first-person shooters?
Listen, I'm going through Steam, and
you're a first person and you're shooting. How is it not a first-person shooter?
I would
Noctis
say
not to put Noctis in the
control over it because you're on a track.
Do you need to have full control over your movement for it to be a first-person shooter?
I think at this point in time, people have generally accepted that if you are on a rail, it's no longer a first-person shooter. It's
because you guys just told me 5 minutes ago, if you're in first person and you're shooting, it's a first-person shooter.
Right, but genres aren't there to define
very
you're not things.
First-person controls would mean that you control the character.
I understand that. I am merely quoting you guys. I am merely quoting you guys. You literally told me 5 minutes ago what the criteria was, and then you're backing out on it.
Rail shooter is just a subgenre of first-person shooter. How about that?
I'm okay with that.
In effect, you are a first-person shooter. It's a added and it's more descriptive of it to be a rail shooter than a first-person shooter, even though it is a first-person shooter.
Yeah, because it is a different flavor of game, which is why it's its own genre.
All right, cool. There we go. Look, I solved everything without being a dick. All right, cool.
Well, because I was assuming that I was going to get your response, but then Hebi was saying no. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I literally asked, is a rail shooter not a first-person shooter? And I was expecting the response of it's a subgenre, and Hebi just like, no, it's not. You don't control your body.
And it's
holy crap! Whoa, we're on a different topic all of a sudden. tFay, my word.
In a way, it's not, I wouldn't describe a rail shooter quite as much of a first-person shooter, but it still is. You're still in first-person view, and you're still shooting a gun. You just don't get to control your motion as much. Okay. Are we done arguing about first-person shooters, or do we want to keep going?
I don't remember what we if that was even the original thing we were talking about.
Noctis asked what was our first-person shooters, because Noctis loves asking people what their favorite thing is, and he basically hopes on the 50-50 they'll ask him in return.
Actually, no, not always. I will admit there is a level of now that everybody's had a turn, when I'm asking, usually I'm asking the guests specifically, and I hope that each of them answer, and then they say, hey, tFay, hey, Noctis, what's your favorite first-person shooter, you know? I just, it's, of course, I'm hoping that the conversation keeps moving forward along the same topic.
Am I weird I almost always hate, and I feel like this is a good trigger, Noctis, I almost always hate conversations of what's your favorite, because it's always either the most generic thing where people just want to feel justified of all liking One Piece or all liking Fortnite. I want to have a discussion about the game. I don't just hey, you like this game? I like this game too. Claps.
Nah, I'm looking for what is your favorite and why is it your favorite?
See, but people don't know how to give the why. It's just my thing. People do not know how to. If I say, hey, what's your favorite, who's your favorite artist? What's your favorite game? They cannot describe. They just go, I like it. It's fun. And I want to hit them with a brick.
Well, you know what? We have very capable guests. I think they're very capable of answering any question we throw at them. Okay. Let's do another favorite. What's your favorite RPG, Dapper?
How generic are we being with RPG?
Just shut up. It's a role-playing game. Is it a role-playing game? Then that counts. How
people have very loose definitions of role-playing game.
I already have an answer, but
okay, the Hebi. What's your favorite role-playing game, Hebi?
Honestly, Super Mario RPG.
And why is that?
It's just so nostalgic and memorable, and the gameplay holds up.
See what I mean? Noctis? How is nostalgic a good answer? That's the same thing as it's fun to me. Nostalgic does not tell me anything about the game. If it does not describe to me in a game in a way that'll make me, hey, maybe I should check that game out. That answer is useless to me.
Okay. The story is well done. The gameplay mechanics are really solid. The music is great. And it's just all around a good RPG.
All right, Dapper, do you have an answer yet?
I told you guys I was going to get a drink. I have no idea what we're talking about.
He's asking what's your favorite RPG, and because I was commenting, whenever anyone says what their favorite anything is, they can never give a non-generic reason why. And Hebi immediately proved my point when he said, my favorite RPG is Mario RPG. And why? It's nostalgic, and I like it. Yeah, I mean, he gave a more in-depth answer right afterwards, but like, if any, just to prove my point.
I misunderstood the question. I didn't know you were.
No, there's nothing wrong with the. No, you didn't misunderstand the question. I'm saying that's everyone go-to response is generic, and that annoys me. You did nothing wrong. You're just proving my point. It's just the.
So what I'm hearing is I annoy you.
No, it's when people just ask why something, they always give it. Well, I mean, sure, you can annoy me, but that's not why.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
All right, so what's your favorite RPG?
My favorite RPG is 7th Sea 2nd Edition, and for the reasons that instead of like D&D where it's more crunchy numbers, this one is a more storytelling-based RPG system, and oh man, it is fantastic.
And
Hold on, repeat that again.
7th Sea 2nd Edition, the tabletop role-playing system.
Oh, okay. So you're going.
I thought we were specifically talking about.
I meant video game, like a video game RPG.
You guys just said RPGs.
Hey, Noctis, remember what I said that you have to define RPG?
Yeah. Okay. Listen, he answered the question, which is, what's your favorite RPG? So, Dapper, what's your favorite RPG to play on your video game RPG?
Video games.
Yes.
Point for tFay.
Good question.
Shut up. No point for you.
Yakuza 0.
Ooh, and why is that?
The character interactions are just so unique and interesting. Like they have this character, the legendary dragon of Dojima, but not yet. And you know, he's still a tough guy. He beats up people in the street. You know, every fight he gets into, he wins. However, he also enjoys karaoke. He is also willing to go and help out somebody. He's not also
not if I'm the one playing.
So I like it because it's more like character focused than a lot of RPGs tend to be, where they tend to go the D&D route, and it's like it's an RPG because it's got level ups and you've got crunchy numbers, and you know you change your weapons and things like that. It's
So weird counter response. I feel like that describes Western RPGs, with Witcher 3 being an exception, more than Eastern. I feel like Eastern RPGs, it's people get mad because it's all exploring the development of the characters to the point where they get annoyed because there's not enough actual gameplay.
Right, and I think Yakuza strikes a nice balance in that.
I would agree with you, though I haven't played the other games, so I don't know if Yakuza 0 is the best one. Because that's the only Yakuza game. That's the only Yakuza game I've played. I feel like there's a lot considering that there's literally 8 games in the series now. Granted, the 8th one is technically a completely different story. I don't know if I could say the Yakuza 0 is the best one, but
I have not played a single Yakuza game. I've tried watching gameplay.
I'm gonna bring back to my original point. Noctis, we have someone in the live chat saying that Breath of the Wild is their favorite RPG. This is why I keep saying you have to specify what RPG is.
No, you don't have to specify, because like it.
What you said earlier in the stream.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, you said that earlier if it was an RPG.
And everyone said no.
That's what I'm saying. So then if someone says Breath of the Wild's my favorite RPG, that doesn't fit in the context of the question. Thus, it doesn't provide information.
Yeah, okay. Then what if let's get crazy here and say most people don't consider Breath of the Wild to be an RPG. Do you have any other favorite games besides that one? Why is that so hard? That's not hard. Just say
This is coming from someone who hates button prompts, but you don't mind specifying what your question is after someone answers.
It's not that hard. Oh my god. No, listen, I don't consider it an RPG. I'm pretty sure most people don't. Because Dapper and you and Hebi all said no to it being an RPG. So people in chat,
I would technically argue it is just in the literal definition of a role-play game. Do you control a character and make choices? If yes, then it's an RPG.
I was gonna say
that's
a really defines role-playing game, because you have two different types. You have the type that has like the blank slate character that you create and role play as a character that you want to play, making decisions and stuff in the game. Then you have other games like Kingdom Hearts or Breath of the Wild or Nier Automata, where you have an assigned character that has a name, a backstory, and a history and everything. And yes, you're playing the role of that character, but it feels less of an RPG to me in that aspect, because you're not.
So how immersed do you have to be for an RPG to be an RPG?
By industry definition, RPGs are not about how immersed in the character you are.
Yeah,
by definition, it's going based off of the idea of what is D&D as a role-playing game. Numbers. And that specifically in the industry is what determines if a game is an RPG or not.
So how many?
If you have a level up system, if you have a system where you're constantly changing out gear to get better numbers, that's usually what they use to determine an RPG system.
So do you have to? Well, do you not technically have that in Breath of the Wild? You technically level up your amount of health and stamina you have, and you also swap out gear to get better numbers.
I don't know. I always thought it was based on like random the damage done. There was like several different aspects of it.
Goes back to D&D, where it is variable numbers and things like that.
But, like KOTOR is definitely an RPG. I think everyone would agree on that.
The difference is that Zelda does not have a skill tree.
Okay, so basically the question. So then the question, I don't care what it is. I just want a very set definition.
Yeah, Zelda also doesn't have it doesn't have a level difficulty. You can literally beat the game in your underwear at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. To define an RPG as.
Wait, are you saying Dark Souls hold up.
Changes it.
Is Pokemon not an RPG? Because people proved you could beat the champion with a level 1 team, Hebi.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's manipulating movesets.
What do you mean? Actual... Hold up. Literally every turn-based RPG is manipulating movesets. If you get to choose what moves you have.
And that argument right there, because the length of the game does not determine if it's an RPG.
Oh my god! Yeah, I thought his character creation was a big part.
They're exploiting a loophole in the mechanics of the game to make that happen. It's not an actual
No, it is
mechanic.
not. No, it's actually a legitimate. There's no loophole. It is not a glitch. It is 100% legitimate, using very legitimate mechanics. There is no loophole in that.
You need a level up system of some kind. You need a progression system based around that level up system of some kind. And there was something else.
You said skill tree, so.
Yeah, but skill tree is part of the level up system of some kind. So it's like, your Final Fantasy with 10 with like the orb or the sphere grid or whatever it is. Or
does increasing your health not and stamina not count as leveling up? That's not a trigger question.
No.
What is the definition of leveling up?
Leveling up is through gaining experience points through combat, which you don't do in Zelda. In Zelda, you get those
basically you have to get experience points in combat for it to be an RPG.
Something like that. It's look at D&D. The rules.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want a concrete answer that there is if I find an exception, I'm not going to say, okay, we have to change our definition now because tFay found this game. So basically, if I find a game where that fits the criteria that you're giving me, you should be able to say, yes, that's an RPG. That's the kind of definition I'm looking for.
Okay, I have to BRB for just a moment.
Okay, Heavy.
In that sense, in that same sort of sense, Dark Souls is an RPG. Yakuza is an RPG. Because in Dark Souls, you get souls, which are the experience you gain from fighting. Money is the experience you gain in Yakuza, which you can spend on yourself to gain new skills and such.
I would agree on both those points, yes.
Yeah, and then there's traditional experience systems like in Final Fantasy and things like that. So yes, that I would say yes, absolutely, that is a system required for an RPG.
When you said that, I couldn't help but think of Kingdom Hearts 2, where you don't have a skill tree per se, but they give you a certain amount of like skill points, and you can assign that to certain abilities as you want to.
You also unlock abilities to assign by leveling up.
That is true.
So I'm trying to think of a particular example. I can't think of it off the top of my head, so maybe this isn't a thing. But I feel like this is a thing. What if you gain experience points for your level up and for your, your skill trees, whatever, through doing quests and progressing the game, but not through combat, and combat is purely optional? Is that still an RPG? I don't actually have an example. I'm just curious.
Combat was a bad word. It's more like encounters.
Okay, did I miss anything?
Not really. I'm just asking if the physical battles don't actually give you EXP, but you get EXP through other events for your skill tree. Is that
through encounters rather than just conflict? Through encounters, if that makes sense. Talking your way out of a situation is still an encounter.
So live chat's bringing up Skyrim, which I think I was trying to find an example. There's my example. Yes, Skyrim is the perfect example.
Yes.
Combat is technically pseudo optional in Skyrim, depending on your because you can get you get XP through just doing quests, talking to people, stealing things.
Yeah, so yeah, like that. Each of those are encounters, but you don't really gain anything unless you do those encounters. So yes.
So basically, there needs to be some kind of event, I guess.
Something has to happen in order for you to overcome something or to pass something in order for you to gain something out of it. This case, experience points.
Okay, I'm gonna ponder about that, but I don't have an immediate problem with this.
Yeah.
tFay doesn't have a complaint. This is unusual.
Well,
what do we do now?
It also wasn't a problem. It wasn't a point brought up by Noctis, so it does make it easier to accept.
That is
wasn't arguing against anything I was saying. He just wanted a definition.
Well, people usually yell at me when I ask for definitions.
No, that's just me, I think. I don't know.
Hey Jordan, be like, can you elaborate?
But no. Even like IRL, like growing up, I would ask for specific definitions and specific instructions when people ask me to do things or tell me to get something, and they would always they don't want to be bothered to give me details. They just want to tell me I'm wrong and to correct me when I either do it wrong or I get the wrong thing. So if let's say Hebi's like, get the box, I'm like, which box? He's like, just get the box, and I get the box, and he's like, no, not that box, get the other box. I'm like, why didn't you just tell me which box the first time? Why do you have to wait till I make him why do you have to wait till I'm wrong and waste our time instead of just telling me, get the biggest box, get the box with the X on it, get the box with Heavy's face on it?
Wait, do we have the same dad?
I mean, there's Filipino memes about this, but I just like specific instructions and definitions. If you're gonna give a definition to something.
No, I'm not.
My dad would ask me for a specific tool, and I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, no, I've been there. No, I'm not looking for a specific RPG. I'm not gonna hound someone over their choice of an RPG. Like Breath of the Wild, I wouldn't say, "Oh, that's not an RPG. How dare you pick that?" Blah 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 blah. Blah. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, when I say an RPG, what do you think of, tFay? What is your favorite RPG?
But then when you think of an RPG, that's where I say the specific thing. So why didn't you just ask me, what do I think of an RPG, or what do I think an RPG is, if that's what the conversation is going to turn into?
Because if I say, what's your favorite RPG, I'm hoping the context is, think of an RPG.
That's my point.
And then
why not be specific? Why not be specific from the beginning instead of being roundabout.
What's your favorite MMORPG, or what's your favorite first
those
person?
To me, those are all very different kinds. I think those are all very different kinds of questions, of which I will answer very differently.
And why is it Disgaea?
I'm just okay. When you think
no. I could give a huge rant about Disgaea, but
oh my god, yeah, we're not getting there. What do you think of when I say RPG? What game series?
What game series?
Yeah, what
Final Fantasy.
So Final Fantasy, is that your favorite RPG?
That's sarcasm, right?
No.
You're saying my favorite RPG is the series where I haven't played any of them to the end. Right now, I've played part of 7, part of 8, part of 10, part of 14.
Did you say you played the first one earlier? I thought.
I played part of 3.
Played fractional Final Fantasy.
Where I played fractional, where I'm never able to finish them because I get bored. And this is very canon to the point where they made me play Final Fantasy VII Remake so I could beat a game. And you're asking me, is that my favorite RPG? Or I've also said on a previous episode,
maybe not everyone in
Persona
chat, not everyone listening to this is familiar with your.
Sure, but why are you asking me, is that my favorite RPG? You know the answer. No, it's not even close. I hate Final Fantasy.
No, I also know when I ask you your favorite RPG, I'm not going to get a fucking answer. All right? But I'm trying here. Work with me.
If you specify, I will answer. Favorite Eastern RPG, Persona 5 Royale. Favorite Western RPG, Witcher 3. Favorite tactical RPG, not Disgaea.
No, okay. So between Witcher 3 and Persona 5, which one do you like better?
Witcher 3 and what?
Witcher 3 and Persona 5, which one do you like better?
Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royale? Yes, there's a difference. You have to specify.
Okay, Persona 5 Royale or Witcher 3, which one do you prefer?
If you had to pick one to play all the time, and the other one went away forever.
I want to say... See, this is tough, and I don't know if this is a cop-out. I think of Persona 5 more fondly, but I put more time replaying Witcher 3. But I don't know if that's just due to the amount of content in Witcher 3.
No, exactly. It sounds like you prefer Persona 5 Royale, is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like that's the one you actually like playing more. Even though you can put more time into Witcher 3. So for me, it sounds like your favorite RPG is Persona 5 Royale.
I mean, that is most of his sound alerts.
It's your sound alerts. It's a game you bring up constantly. I think it's safe to assume that's your favorite RPG. I know you hate putting labels on things, tFay, but that's your favorite RPG.
Yeah, but what about Gwent?
Yeah, see? No, not gonna lie. Dapper knows where it's at.
One part of the game does not the game make.
To be fair,
whoa, no. You do not diss Gwent, all right? Gwent makes Witcher 3. Your playing experience.
Witcher 3 has so much more than Gwent.
Yes, but if you're Witcher, your experience with Witcher 3, and I am not joking when I say this, will be vastly different if you dive into Gwent. I could give you an essay on this.
That's actually a compliment because
I was going to say I'd rather go with Triple Triad, honestly.
What the fuck, Triple Triad?
The Witcher series than Gwent.
Yes, there is. All right. First of all, do you want to come at me about who's a bigger Witcher fan right now? All right, I will go all out about how.
Game. You can't claim you're a bigger Witcher fan.
No, I said I like the first game. I'm saying it doesn't hold up.
Is tFay cutting out a lot?
Am I cutting out? It's probably because I'm just not talking, because I'm screaming.
It almost sounds like you're breaking your noise gate.
Probably I'm probably breaking my noise gate. No, Witcher 1. I like Witcher 1, but I'm not going to tell someone to play Witcher 1. The controls for that game are terrible.
If you truly love something, you would recommend it.
That is not all right. Here, all right. Let's ignore The Witcher for a second. That's an interesting question. If you truly love a game, would you tell someone to play it no matter how bad an experience it might be to play it?
Yep.
No.
Dapper? All right. So we have 2 no's and 2 yeses. I'm now realizing we need like a tiebreaker.
Okay. All right. Well, let Hebi and Dapper make their cases because we're already going to argue between ourselves at some point anyway.
Okay. Well, redo the question fully so I fully understood the
Would you, if you really love a game, let's say, like, imagine a game with a terrible, like, that does not hold up well at all. All right. It doesn't matter which one. All right. Let's pretend that's your favorite game, right? Very nostalgic. If you want to use that argument, fine. Would you tell someone now to play it who hasn't played it before because it's your favorite game, even though you know that the gameplay experience is not great, does not hold up at all, and they're probably going to want to punch themselves doing it? But it's just like, you just love the game that much, so you got to tell someone to play it anyway.
I still would say yes if I have that much of a fondness for it and I want to share it with someone, but I would probably add a disclaimer with it.
But like, why not tell them to watch a YouTube playthrough at that point?
Because that's not the same as playing the game.
If the gameplay is that bad, like, I could argue those. I could argue that I don't love Witcher 1 for the gameplay. I love Witcher 1 for the world and the story and the characters. Of which,
but the Witcher 1 gameplay isn't that bad. I don't understand this. Like, you want to punch? No, it's not. You want to punch yourself in the face back? No,
yes, it is. All right. Well, let Dapper make his case before I argue that yes, it is.
All right. Fine.
It's bad enough that I would tell somebody to just play 2 and 3. So no, I would not. You see, I understand how nostalgia twists an idea of a game in my mind. There are plenty of games that I absolutely loved as a child that, even though I could get through it because I loved the game in the past, I know that it would be grating for somebody else to play. So I would not recommend them to play it. I would tell them how much I liked it, and I would tell them why I liked it. Then I would tell them they should not play it because they will not enjoy it.
See, I'm treating this as if I'm recommending an anime series to someone, as if I'm recommending movies.
No, you cannot. No,
I'm recommending.
No.
Stop. Let me stop. No, stop. Stop. All right. That's how I'm looking at this as. All right. I love Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but I usually skip like the first 15 episodes of it. But when I recommend it to someone, I don't tell them that.
Wait, because when you say abridged, do you mean Kai?
No, Dragon Ball Z
Abridged. No, he means abridged. Do you know what an abridged is?
4-star comedy series?
Yes. He means the Team 4-star comedy series.
I'm using that as example. I am spreading the wings. I'm using a vast majority of examples here, all right? So, same with an anime, like One Piece. Is it really good before he picks up Nami and Zoro? Not really.
Whoa. That's not the cutoff when One Piece is good, but continue.
See, that's my point. My point is like where I consider it to get good is probably going to be where you consider it to get good as different. Same goes for a video game series. I love Witchers 1, 2, and 3. I've never even beaten 3, and I still consider it a great game. But I'm not going to tell someone not to play the Witcher series just because the first one is a bit different than the third one. Try the first one. No. Maybe you won't like it, but you have to. You should try it anyway.
But okay, I feel like I'm gonna ignore the obvious argument I want to make. That's just a recycle of our old arguments of telling someone to play a video game. But in terms of, you can't compare recommending something you just watched to something you physically have to play. Let's ignore price barriers. Don't want to repeat an argument. All right, when you have to play the game to experience it, that is vastly different than you have to sit there and watch it. If I want to tell Dapper to watch One Piece and all he has to give is time, all right, granted, One Piece is a lot of time, but all he has to do is sit there and watch it. If you want to tell someone, yo, you should play Celeste, it's an amazing game, which it is. If he sucks at platformers, he's not going to experience the full Celeste, and he's probably not going to enjoy it. It doesn't matter how great the game is. There's an inherent wall.
The whole argument there is time. The whole argument is time. I'm asking you to put a little bit of time into The Witcher 1 and try it out.
No,
maybe you won't like it. Maybe you will.
Yes.
I played The Witcher 1 years after it came out, and I still liked it.
Okay.
How many other people would enjoy it and don't know it?
But I'm saying that whether or not you can enjoy it is not because of the gameplay. There's the gameplay I do not find enjoyable, so you can enjoy the game as a YouTube playthrough and not have to endure, and I mean endure, the gameplay that is only, in my opinion, a detriment to everything else the game has to offer.
I think you're being...
There was key 3 words there, and it was in your opinion.
Yeah, well, that's it. Listen, that's what we're arguing here, Hebi. We always argue opinion.
Another game that I would say that I love that I would not recommend anybody to play is the .hack series.
Yes.
Oh,
I would agree.
Hebi understands exactly what I mean.
Noctis, are you familiar?
Now.
You're familiar with the Fate series, right?
Familiar with it.
No, Noctis. I'm trying to explain what .hack is to Noctis. Really easily.
Okay.
Noctis, are you familiar with the Fate series?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with how complicated it is to get into because you have so many different sources to get like of the same storyline kind of to get the full picture?
Yes.
Okay. Now imagine that, but add video games to it. And basically, that's the .hack series.
It's a more convoluted Sword Art Online.
It's because Fate is visual novel, anime. .hack is anime, visual novel, game, manga. All of it must be combined to get the full story.
Okay, so I watched the .hack anime. Is the game that different?
.hack sign is not actually a complete story because the rest of that story is in the .hack games.
Yes, yes, it is different. You literally are. You cannot get the full story without doing all the mediums for any of the lines.
That sounds.
I guess.
Like Kingdom Hearts branched across several different systems and mini games and mobile games, but all of the stories.
Yeah, but see, that's.
Oops, sorry.
Kingdom Hearts is different. I agree with you, Hebi, but Kingdom Hearts is different. Feel free to get that t-shirt, by the way. I agree with Hebi. On the merch store. Kingdom Hearts is different because you get the full Kingdom Hearts 2 storyline pretty much within Kingdom Hearts 2. To understand it, you know, a lot of things might be referred to in other games or they might reference things, but like it's contained, you have a singular story than Kingdom Hearts 2. If you watch a .hack anime, you will not understand most of it if you don't have any other context.
I'm so blown away by this, like, recommending a game to someone is like sentencing them to death. Like, just try it. Like, if you don't like the game, then move on with your life. I don't understand this, like, pain in the ass struggle. As for, like, okay,
not
then you're
everyone's
saying, okay, well,
with just trying a bunch of games and just dropping them, even if they're free. Not everyone, like, I personally do not like just trying things if I don't think I'm going to like it.
And that sounds like a you thing, not everybody. My point is, I love something enough to recommend it to you. Would you not think that as a sign that it's something as quality, even if the gameplay isn't? Maybe The Witcher has more going for it than just some.
If you recommend me
gameplay?
A TV show or an anime, I am definitely willing to give it a try. I generally do not try games if I do not like. If you tell me to try a game, any game, I'm going to be literally recommending it. Like, I'm going to be looking at a ton of reviews, and so I'm going to make my own judgment. I'm not going to ever play a game just because someone says this. Yes. And as live chat, as an example, I did not recommend Genshin to my girlfriend, which she now loves and plays a lot, because I just don't recommend things to people.
Yeah. See, that's how, now we're getting into, like, what it means to recommend someone something, and what it means for you to be recommended something. If tFay, Dapper, Hebi, anyone in the community that I know and trust to have good taste says, hey, this new game that just came out on Steam, Reminiscence, I have no idea what it is, but it's free to play, and I'm on Steam. Like, if it's supposed to be really good and you love it that much, sure, I'll download it, I'll try it. Why not? You must love it to recommend it.
When you say why not, I answer with 4 words: Sky Children of Light.
And you didn't like it. That's okay. You just move on with your life. You just tried a game you didn't like.
No. I cannot move on from that. All right. It is now officially ingrained in the memes of my stream. Anything comes up, I literally just ask casually, what's a game you want to see me play for a week. Everyone just goes Sky Children of Light. Sky Children of Light.
True,
that's different. That's not
different. It's I cannot. It's literally when I play a game that actually affects my life outside, like past the game. Like it is going to be referenced. It's going to be talked about. It is going to be compared to.
I'm also not recommending you to stream something. I'm recommending you just to try playing it. That's different.
I mean, playing. First of all, the Sky Children of Light playing and streaming are basically the same thing. But even if you want to ignore that, if you're going to tell me to play something, all right, you're asking me to stream it.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you to play it. That's unfair. Now recommendations are being brought into what
because if you're telling me, you asked me, like in the community, if you're telling me to play a game, you're telling me to stream it. Nobody ever, and I don't know if Dapper and Hebi have contrary opinions, nobody ever tells me to play a game and doesn't expect that in the context of it's going to be on stream.
No, I'm not. We're not talking about streaming. We were strictly talking about playing video games.
Yeah,
you can't bring streaming into it. That's unfair.
In this sense, it's
because you say you play games.
No, but it's who. Are you saying you blindly recommend stuff without the context of who the person you're recommending to is?
Oh my! Why do you do this, man?
My point is, if I've recommended something that if I want to recommend something, yes, if I want to recommend, I take the context of the person into account if I'm ever to recommend something once a year.
No, that's unfair because I'm talking recommending something in general. You're saying what is it to recommend something to you?
To make sure that you know what the person likes to play.
Why is it so bad? Why is it so bad?
Because you've already said you play different stuff off stream. You said you play games off stream. All right.
What do I play? So maybe I do not play. I play Genshin off stream. That's it.
No, you said you play first-person shooters usually off.
This is before I was a streamer. I've played, not play. I haven't played literally the only game I play off stream since I started streaming is literally Genshin Impact.
You pick what games you stream, all right? I'm not picking a game for you to stream. I'm picking you a game to play. And if I love something that much, to recommend it, it usually doesn't come with the context of what the person normally plays.
Hebi and Dapper.
Know what Dapper normally plays, but I'd still recommend him.
All right, Hebi and Dapper, if you're going to tell me... All right, Dapper literally bought Wander's Hug for me. When you sent me that, are you not expecting me to stream it if I'm going to be playing it, Dapper?
No, I just told you to play it.
Yeah, but when do you expect me to play it on my own, or do you expect me to play it on a stream if I'm going to be playing it at all? I know you're just telling me to play it. No, I'm asking what you expect, not saying you're forcing me to do anything. Basically, if you're going to...
I expect you to get the game, which I got for you.
Okay, you're avoiding my question entirely. It's if I'm going to be playing... No. If I'm... Well, okay, fine. If you don't expect anything, then yes, I can't ask a question.
Yeah, I'm not talking. I'm talking in general, recommending something to someone. I'm not talking about as a streamer. I'm talking about as someone who plays video games.
Maybe I don't like. Why is everything so? Why are you so okay with things so general? I don't know. I've had this argument with other people too. Maybe I'm just weird in my line of thinking. I don't like generalizing almost anything.
No, because like if you say, could you recommend me an RPG? I'll say Kingdom Hearts 2. You say, what kind of RPG is that? And I'll be like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a lot of movement-based combat.
That's the part where I usually get confused with your argument, Noctis, is that you say that you
get out our chart about the hero's journey.
Yeah.
But then you just said specifically if somebody asks for an RPG, then you recommend something.
If someone says, recommend me an RPG, I will say, most likely KOTOR, because that's my favorite RPG.
With that, I don't have a problem. Because now it's, like, specified. Now it's like, oh, they want an RPG specifically. It's something that they're looking for. I know what to recommend.
No, if you ask me to recommend you a game, I can recommend you a game. Like, it doesn't matter what time of day.
But I would usually ask... like recommend me an adventure game or a fighting game, something like that. I would usually.
Now we're talking about from an opposite perspective of being recommended a game.
But here's my point: is that because that's how I would ask. That's also how I would offer a recommendation. I would find out what they're looking for, so that I could give them a better recommendation.
It depends. No, see, We're changing perspectives. The original argument was, would you recommend a game despite its flaws? I would, because I'm going to recommend that game no matter what. It doesn't matter if they play RPG specifically. It doesn't matter if they play first-person shooters.
No. You're twisting the argument. The argument is, would you recommend a game if the gameplay experience is really bad? That has to be that specific.
Isn't that what I just said?
No. Having flaws and the gameplay mechanics are bad are two different things. A game having flaws, if you can have a good... No. It's very specific, because if you could say, all right, the gameplay loop is really fun, but the story sucks, the art sucks, like I could say, Pokemon Sword is really fun, but the art is terrible. But, it's vastly different than Pokemon Sword looks really good, but the gameplay loop is bad. When you're playing a game, the gameplay mechanics are very, very important and integral to the enjoyment. So if that particularly is bad,
about the specifics. Well, you're arguing about the specifics of what makes the game bad. No. I wasn't saying. I was not
asking you, would you recommend a bad game? I said, would you recommend a bad game where you think the gameplay is bad? So even if you don't think Witcher 1 is, unless you're going to tell me that every game has good gameplay, all right? I'm not arguing Witcher 1. I'm saying pick any game in your mind where you think the gameplay is bad, but you really like it anyway. Would you still recommend that?
I can't think of a game that I dislike the gameplay, but would recommend it anyway.
That's my point. But that was my point. If you think what,
but so no, you're saying The Witcher as an example.
Because I think Witcher 1 gameplay is bad, so that's why I don't recommend it. But that doesn't mean I don't love the game.
Why do we do this every week? We come up with these dumb arguments.
Hold on. I'm actually like flabbergasted of how you're confusing my point. I'm not saying recommend bad games. I'm not saying Witcher 1 is bad. I'm saying that I do not recommend a game, even if I like it, if I think the gameplay is bad.
I see. Oh my god.
And that's a very specific thing.
Recommended things.
And welcome to this week's episode. Guests don't get to talk while tFay and Noctis argue.
tFay. I've thought about it. And yes, I do want you to stream Wandersong.
Yeah. No, I'm just blown away. Like, now we got like 5 different conversations, or 5 different arguments happening at once. Because like it went from would you recommend a game despite its flaws, which I would say is a great way to sum up how you're putting it, a bad gameplay. Because Undertale is a great example. I don't think the gameplay is very impressive, but I'd recommend it. I wouldn't say it's bad. Isn't like, oh my god, fun, but I'd still recommend Undertale.
Okay, but that's
now the point of like depends on the game. Because
it depends on the person. That's what I'm getting.
Well, sorry, I thought the argument went somewhere else. That was my bad. But no, I think it depends on the game.
But my question was very person specific. So even if you're not what you want, if you particular like Dapper, you can all have different opinions on what game fits the example. If you think the gameplay is bad and you enjoyed it for whatever reason, would you still recommend it? Like
that's a weird conditional thing. Now that I think about it,
it's a very specific thing.
Flaws of the game, but still enjoying it.
Yeah,
how many necessarily negate the criteria of recommending it to somebody because you don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying you shouldn't recommend it. The question was, would you? If you say yes, I'm okay with that. We gave you an
answer right off the bat.
No, I'm just not.
Wait, Witcher for you falls under this weird category of like games you enjoyed but you don't like the gameplay?
Yes, Witcher 1 specifically. Witcher 2 is great.
Witcher 1 I didn't really like the gameplay though.
That's fascinating to me in itself. How do you play a game that you don't like the gameplay?
Because I enjoyed the character's story and I want to know what happens.
Then why didn't you just watch it on a live stream or on YouTube?
Because I played it a long time ago, but I didn't know how to do that.
Well, there you go. That's a bullshit.
Let's actually change it to a game that I actually thought the gameplay was rather good. for the time. Like when I first played the original Metroid, that game was amazing back then. However,
made absolutely
wait,
no
are we talking about the very, very original Metroid, like the 2D one, not Metroid Prime?
NES Metroid.
Okay, thank you.
I played that and I thought it was great at the time. Would I recommend it nowadays? No.
I'd recommend it. Even, I didn't like it. I gotta be honest. I played Metroid, Super Metroid first. Loved it. Went back to try and play Metroid. I got about 30 minutes into it and said, "Fuck this! I ain't playing this game."
Exactly. It doesn't hold up anymore, so I would not recommend.
Wait, what did?
Play it.
But if you're recommending that,
because it's your original. The same goes for like the Legend of Zelda, the original one. I don't like that game either, but I'd still recommend it to people to try. Maybe they might like it.
But that's every game. I recommend that they play Breath of the Wild. Or in the case of Metroid, I recommend they play Zero Mission.
Wait, why would you recommend a game that you don't like yourself?
Because maybe other people might like it.
But that's every game. I could literally pick Nekopara Catboy's Paradise, which is free, and I could say you might like it. Don't play the game. I don't. All right.
Wait, did you try it and you didn't like it, tFay?
No. I'm saying but that shouldn't. Whether I like it apparently does not matter in your argument because they might like it, so you're just gonna recommend anything.
No, did you try this Nekopara?
No, I've never even heard of this before. I literally looked on Steam. It's new.
Didn't try.
Why not? They might like it
because it's not a game you haven't tried. That's not
what
I would recommend a game I've never played.
Well, I don't see why never played is different than I don't like it.
Because Metroid has the context of being a very famous old game that a lot of other popular games came after, like Super Metroid.
Play Zero Mission.
Did anyone here ever play the original Contra?
All right, yeah. See, so I've never played Contra, but Contra is a very popular series. Am I allowed to recommend Contra if I know someone likes that genre? But I've never played it, so am I allowed to recommend it?
I enjoyed it, but that game was.
But you just said I'm not allowed to recommend games I haven't played before.
Not in a different way. That's a different type of recommendation. If I
what do you mean? There's categories of recommendations.
Can you tell me about an otome and you say Nekopara Cowboy's Paradise, even though you never played it, does it fit under the otome? And we're getting under.
This has gone off the rails.
I think I broke.
Okay, this is officially where I cut the podcast. Because Noctis is suddenly breaking up recommending otomes.
Listen, you pick an argument, I'm gonna pick a side, all right? I'm not gonna dance around.
I feel like no. I feel like, and I'm gonna end it with this, so we can say bye and then continue arguing after this recording in another recording. I feel like if you're saying that, you're specifically trying to disagree with me at that point. I feel like that is I just want to disagree with tFay's side you're taking right now.
Listen, content is a thing. It's a thing me and tFay are aware of. And we try and keep the podcast moving.
Oh my God.
What's more interesting to listen to?
Now you know that people are literally going to stream control me to play Nekopara Ultimate games.
Showing up.
I would if I didn't have Halo
experience. Ignoring that argument over there, that hot mess. Thank you everyone for showing up for the podcast, and tFay, see us out.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
Now, all right. Let's change this up. All right, Hebi, you are now in. All right, Hebi, you're doing the outro. You've been here 3, 4. I forgot how many times I've covered up your midriff. All right, you do the outro while I drink some water and regain my composure for the post recording, where I lose my composure.
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you guys so much for coming in and tuning in. This is the Luna Lounge with tFay, Noctis, and guests, including the wonderful DapperDeputy here and myself, Hebi Midriff. Yeah. I'm not used to getting this much time without being talked over or cut into, so
that's fair. Dapper, do you have any last words as well?
Rosebud.
Those would be great last words to go out on, by the way.
Yeah, so for next week, I do have to double confirm if the schedule works, but it's going to be very soon if it's not next week. We do have Marsha and Wally, who wants to come back. You might have remembered her from the Pokemon trading card episode. Where they're going to talk about how they basically tricked me into spending money on Pokemon cards. And then Noctis is gonna laugh at me.
Oh, we didn't come up with a band name.
That's.
Are we killing that?
Is that
Return of the Backsplash Midriff featuring Dapper?
We've had episodes where we haven't had one and people haven't complained, so I think we could finally stop stressing about that.
Yes, I think so. Because at first it came naturally.
You
then
missed
it turned
out,
into
Dapper.
We're trying to come up with one. It needs to come naturally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you come up with one in the next 10 seconds before I end the podcast, we'll make it the title.
We're both from Arkansas. We both have chickens. We could be the Hixie Chicks.
Hixie Chicks. Oh yes.
Okay, goddammit, that's pretty good. All right, Noctis, you're officially in charge of making art for that. That's pretty good. I think that deserves it.
Can we make the album name Doxed because you just told everyone where you live?
Sure.
Again, my GoFundMe tells everything.
All right. Bye, guys. See you next week. Oh, wait. Hold up. We didn't do shameless plug for the Patreon. I lied. We're not done yet. Shameless plug for our Patreon, where you could monetarily support Noctis getting a new mic. Big shout outs to our current patrons. KDK, Banana in the refrigerator, wants to seriously get Banana out of the fridge because he wants to be in there 402. Vic Starlight laughs at Kim. All right, there you go. There's everyone's new names. Bye.
Bye.